Hello, Warriors. It is your host and your Blue Coat, Kirstin Martinez. And today on the Warrior Pod, we have a very special guest, LaToscha from the Counseling Center. So I'll kind of let you take it away and really introduce yourself and what you do here.
Well, sure. Thank you for having me, Blue Coats. I really appreciate this opportunity. My name is LaToscha Sherman. I am the Professional Counseling Associate at the Student Wellness and Counseling Center here on campus. And I take great pride in being a warrior. I am an alumni of this university, but I also take great pride in being able to service our students. So that's
Yeah, and
me.
you were actually one of the founding Blue Coats, right? You actually started coffee with the Blue Coats, didn't you?
I did. I did. I worked with the great team of that first batch of Blue Coats. I was the graduate assistant for them, and so I am just so proud to be able to look across the hall and see that program still running, and you guys doing such a great job. It's been so fun.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Coffee with the Blue Coats is now one of our biggest programs that we do, one of the biggest quote unquote events that we hold here. So it's crazy how you're still here and you get to see us every Tuesday and see something that you started. It's kind of like a domino effect. It's crazy.
It is. It's amazing. I often will text. We have a group text of that original group, and I just laugh because when we started it, it was kind of like no one's gonna come get coffee from us. Like we were so just apprehensive about the entire program, and now just to see it running so smoothly, it's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's one of the our events that we love so much. So thank you for getting that started for us. So kind of moving on as far as counseling, what made you want to get into counseling?
Oh wow, well that's a loaded question. There's just so many reasons, but I think my personality type really kind of plays into it. I love being able to listen to people's stories, and so much of counseling is just listening to people and hearing just how far they've come and what they've been through and what they're working towards. And of course the art of counseling, we try as counselors to be able to basically hold up a mirror to our clients so that they can see things that maybe they had missed, or recover memories that maybe they had blocked or forgotten. And so I've always lived a life in service to other people. I do missions work in my personal time, and grew up just always being one of those friends that people came to. And so it took me a kind of a long time. It was a long journey to get to counseling. I started off in sports broadcasting, and
Oh,
then yeah, and then I moved over to journalism, and I realized what I didn't like about journalism was that I got to know people's business, but I couldn't do anything about it.
mhm.
And for me, that just felt like my hands were so tied. And so when I happened and landed upon counseling, it just felt like such a great fit. And I promise you, every day that I work here at this university and that I meet more students and know their stories, it is so just invigorating. And so my hope is that everyone finds their thing, and counseling is just my thing.
Yeah, it for sure is. I've been to see you quite a few times in the past, and I've always thought, well, I'm talking this girl's ear off, and I've had people like ask me to whenever they ask about the counseling center. I brag about y'all all the time.
Oh, awesome. I'm
'Cause
so happy to hear that.
I enjoyed my time with you so much, and even just your tone of voice too is enough just to calm anybody down. It's very reassuring, and it's like you're like the actual like personification, I think, of yoga and like meditation.
I am going to use that quote for the rest of my life.
But I like seriously, I always felt so much better after talking to you. I used to be really nervous before I went in and I talked to my counselor. Um, like in the past and growing up, I always got really nervous because I knew that I was going to feel some kind of way afterwards, and I didn't really
Mm,
like that. But whenever I came to see you, it was a bit different. And I think one of the main things that a lot of people that I've heard about recently is that people normally think the first counselor they go to is the one for them. And if it doesn't work out, they never
mhm.
go back.
That's so true. I definitely agree with that statement. And I tell people all the time, finding a counselor is pretty same as finding a significant other. Like
Mhm.
you have to, everyone's not going to be a good fit. You kind of got to date them for a little bit and see if it's a good fit. And as counselors, I think it's important to know that we don't take it personally if we're not a good fit for you.
Mhm.
Um, and there's I have counselor friends that are just completely opposite than I am. Like they're much more rah rah and like in your face. And I have some counselors that literally don't speak in sessions. Like they just, don't. And so it just varies. And you can be very open with your counselor about what you need and what you want. And so, yeah, I appreciate that you appreciated me as in that role. And yeah, I think counseling is one of those things that it takes some time sometimes to land on the right person, but trust your instincts, and I think you did. And also it's important to know that counseling is not forever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think of counseling like the chiropractor, like you just never have enough appointments, and our goal is hopefully that you don't need to come see us anymore, that you can operate and stand on your own 2 feet. And sometimes it's cyclical. You might disappear for 6 months and then come back, and we're always happy to have you guys back.
Sounds kind of like me. I haven't been to see you in a while. But no, I just love seeing your face on campus and stuff now, and I think it's a good thing to, even though that we work right across the hall from each other. One of the biggest concerns in the beginning that was kind of asked me by a friend of mine was, aren't you worried, talking to her about things because you see her on campus almost every day? And I was nervous at first, but once I got to know you and saw you face to face, I didn't have any sort of reaction at all. And so I think that's also really important for students to know too, that even if they come to the counseling center and they see you face to face or whatever later, it's still going to be not an awkward sort of interaction.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, that is definitely a concern. And I'm sure for students, when I was a student, it was a concern for me. So I definitely understand that. And I think because I have been a student using the counseling center resources, I think that kind of helps me to just kind of disarm any type of awkwardness. But of course, my whole job is to hold people's stuff. And so confidentiality is a huge part of counseling. And so what we say in counseling, myself and the client stays right there in that room between that person and I. And it doesn't stop you from being a student. So I am also staff here on campus. And so if I run into you, I'm going to say, hey, and keep it moving. So yeah, I think it is important for students to know that you don't, just because I see you in the hallway, if we've talked about deep things, I'm just going to keep moving and acknowledge you. And so confidentiality is my utmost priority in counseling. And so I would never bring anything that is talked about in session outside of session.
Yeah. So we talked about how you were a student here and now you're an alumni. How did you actually end up in the position you're at in the counseling center at the university?
Oh man, that story is actually pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So as a blue coat, or as the GA for the blue coats, I had the opportunity to be the student representation on the hiring committee for the director of student wellness and counseling. And so that was kind of my first interaction with Dr. Amuna, was hearing her give this amazing presentation about her direction for the student body here on campus, and being able to offer mental health resources to them. And so I went through my program, and just always, she was across the hall, just like I'm across the hall, and would see her. And so all these years later, a position opened, and I was like, man, I would love to get back on campus. I really love just the TAMUCT family. And just through a lot of blessings, was able to secure this position. And so now I work for her. And so it came very full circle, in just knowing the demographic that I like. Every counselor is different. Some counselors like to work with children. Some counselors like to work with the elderly. I love students, in particular warriors. And that's what's different about our campus and our students, is that everybody is pretty much in a transition, right? We're a transfer institution, and so we don't have freshmen and sophomores here. And so because we are that upper level institution, a lot of people are changing careers and finding new careers and figuring out what they want to do. We typically have a student population of overachievers. Everyone is kind of like known to kind of go hard and work hard. And sometimes when you are a hard worker and when you are an overachiever, you neglect your mental health. And so I really love just being able to implement things like self-care to clients. And one of my favorite catchphrases is to be kind to yourself, because sometimes we tend to beat ourselves up.
I need to like start a petition to get you on a TED Talk.
I think my nerves might just take me out there.
No, you're so great, and you have such a great way of I guess putting it into such great words to really reach people, just the way that you talk about your job and your passion for what you do. And I think that makes it easier and kind of breaks a lot of stigma that surrounds like counseling and mental health, um, and all that. So it's really great, and it's something that I really love to see. So that being said, what do you think would be your favorite part about your job?
Mm, Jeez. My favorite part about my job, I have to try and narrow that down. I take a very strengths-based approach to my particular modality of counseling, and I love being able to identify strengths in clients that they may not have seen
Mhm.
before. I think I call that my little superpower, is that I can listen to a story and immediately I'm like, oh, but that means that you're tenacious and that you're resilient and that you're strong and you're courageous. And I see those things very visibly when I'm listening to a story from a client. And so I love being able to remind clients that they're so capable and that they're so able to get through this situation or whatever may be the case. So I think that's my favorite part, is just reminding clients who they are.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that a lot of students don't know is that we actually get 45 minutes every week, isn't it, in our
Mhm.
tuition to come see y'all?
Yes, yes. So you can, maximum is one time a week,
Mhm.
and our sessions are about 40 to 45 minutes. But you can come less often. Sometimes you just want to pop in, just kind of like a maintenance check. It's kind of like an oil change on your car, and it's fine. And so some clients come once a week, some clients come once a month, some clients come once every quarter. So it just kind of depends on you. And our interface is very user friendly, and so sometimes you can just pop in and see what appointments we have available and drop on in there.
Yeah, whenever I first did mine, I think I don't remember if I called a schedule or if I did it online, but the first counseling session that I had, it was super easy to do. Like I did it from my phone, and I did it from my phone each and every time, and I got reminders like through text message in my email. And this sounds really cheesy as an adult, but my mom was like, "I want to know when you go to therapy, so help sign me up for the reminders too when you go." And
Aww.
I was like, "Okay, mom," but that's just something that if like students are having concerns or people are concerned about them, just to make them feel okay. If that's a thing, you can have your family members or whatever also to hold you accountable too. I think
Hmm.
accountability is a big thing. And sometimes people do need a little extra push to take care of themselves because, like you said, we are an institution of overachievers, and a lot of us are a lot older, and so we have a tendency to put ourselves on the back burner and everybody else before ourselves.
Hmm. Very
So
true. We have a student body full of caretakers. They're wives and mothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, and yeah, it can be very difficult to kind of remain accountable. And so I think that's such a great idea, is to pull someone into your village, is what I would call it. We all kind of operate in this like village of some sort. And
mhm.
so I think, like you said, having an accountability partner, gosh, that is ideal, because sometimes counseling doesn't feel good. Like, let's be honest. Sometimes you go to places and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to cry for the rest of the day. And so it's just a part of the process. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because counseling is not all unicorns and rainbows. Sometimes we go to dark spaces, and it's my job to just sit with you in the dark. Sometimes I can't flip the light switch on for you, but I can sit with you in the dark. And we call it an emotion hangover. My counselor friends, sometimes you'll go to counseling and it's like I just can't even function, because I thought about a lot of things and I felt a lot of things. And so having a plan for that, some sort of self-care after an appointment can be good. And maybe having a friend that just knows, hey, you're having counseling today, that knows to check in on you or send you a little coffee or pick me up, can be really helpful.
Yeah. One thing too that I think has really like helps me after coming to see you, because as a blue coat I give a lot of tours, and so I've had people bring it up after I've taken them by the counseling center and let them know that they can come see you guys. They always ask, well, that's something that I usually deal with on my own. It's not something I'm really like interested in. Like I don't really know if it's all that true. And I'm like, well, think of it like this. If you had a friend who, let's say they have a thyroid problem, right?
Mhm.
And they have a hormone imbalance and they need medicine and they need to go and see a doctor every so often to go get that medicine renewed and get a checkup, but you tell them that that's not real and that that's all in their head. Like, well, no.
Mhm.
I'm like, look, it's the same thing for your mental health. You know,
Mhm.
those feelings like serotonin and dopamine, like all of these things are real and they're all in your brain, and those weigh heavily on your attitude and how you view things. So if you think of it like that, like something that you just need to check in for yourself, you're gonna realize that it's real and you really shouldn't stigmatize it.
Yeah, man, I need to put that, I need to make a recording of you and just play that in my office. That is exactly right. You know, as humans, we're very quick to accept the help of a specialist, right? If,
Mhm.
like using your example of thyroid issue, you would go see an endocrinologist, or if you broke your ankle, you're gonna go see, that type of specialist. And I think it's funny that we just assume that everything from the neck down needs a specialist. Um, but we are specialists in dealing with emotions, in dealing with feelings. And it's one of the most vague things that you can see, in thyroid issue, you can see your thyroid, I mean, with the right imaging, and all of that's very tangible. But when it comes to our emotions and our feelings, a lot of that is intangible. And sometimes it's not easy to just identify what you're feeling. And so we, as mental health professionals, we serve as specialists to kind of help you know where to even start looking, and to kind of point out behaviors that you didn't know. I grew up an athlete, and um, in being an athlete, I had several injuries because I'm also very clumsy. So I don't know how those two go together. But I broke my ankle when I was a freshman in high school, and so I recovered and I figured and I kept going. But when I got to be about a junior, I remember my coach saying, "Hey, Tasha, why are you favoring your leg like that? Why are you walking like that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm just walking." And I had no idea that I was still kind of behaving the way that I behaved when my ankle was broken. And if
Wow.
someone hadn't pointed that out to me, I never would have known. And that's kind of what coming to see us is. It's us taking a look, an objective look at you, and being able to just kind of point things out. And so it can be really helpful. And it's also important to know that it's never coming from a judgmental place,
Yeah.
right? Like people say all sorts of things in counseling. And if someone is like, I want to wear kitty cat earrings for the rest of my life, it's not my job to judge. It's my job to listen. And so I think that's important for people to know.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just nice. So even with if you go to your friends or parents for advice or to talk to them, which is it's a good thing, and you should talk to them about that stuff. But there always is some sort of level of bias whenever you
Hmm.
kind of like talk to them. So sometimes it's really nice to really, for me personally, I love getting a new perspective on the way that I feel or the way that I do things sometimes, because you don't a counselor is not going to know me on the same level as my friend or my mom, and they or I say my mom because I'm close with my mom or my parents. And so if I do something or I'm questioning something, I like to have an outside perspective because it helps me put things almost like a puzzle. It helps me
Hmm.
like put in the missing pieces that I know aren't biased,
Right.
and that's
Right.
really
Exactly. And that's the thing. We are unbiased in our assessment of what's going on. And a lot of times in counseling, the counselor will repeat to the client what they say, because sometimes when it comes out of your mouth, it sounds way different than when you take it back in. And so I think counseling is really great for getting just an objective view on different situations and things like that.
yeah. So one of our very last questions is, how do you think students can benefit the most when coming to the University Counseling Center?
Wow. Well, listen, our services are expanding daily. And so I think obviously my favorite part is the mental health counseling aspect. And so if you are wanting to talk to someone, and you don't have to be sad to come to counseling or angry to come to counseling. It could, sometimes I have clients that just there because, I wanted to check it out. Just come hang out for a little bit, make an appointment and you can gauge for yourself. But it's also important to know that we are the Student Wellness and Counseling Center. And so the word wellness, when it relates to our center, is we have a host of information, of educational opportunities to deal with different wellness components. The top three of those at this university are type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and nutrition and weight loss management. And so we have an office full of certifications to help maintain and to help with education treatment for those particular health issues. And so if you are dealing with any of those, please make an appointment, and you just make sure that you check wellness as opposed to counseling in your appointment type. And then we also have some services to help with study habits, and we kind of partner with the office that's a little bit down the hall in Warrior Hall, which is the Office of Equity and Inclusion, but just in helping students identify study methods and study habits that would be more helpful to them. And then we also have a service for students that if you are one of those people that struggles with time management and you get to the middle of the semester and you're like, okay, I'm drowning in assignments, we will be able to sit down with you, look at your syllabus, and kind of map out a plan to help you be as successful as possible for the semester in terms of when you're submitting assignments and things like that. So, I'm sure I'm missing something, but the Student Wellness and Counseling Center it's a one-stop shop for a host of things. And so we encourage students to take advantage of it. You are afforded all of it through your student fees. And so you already invested in us, so why not take the opportunity?
Oh yeah, I say that all the time too, and I give twice. I'm like, listen, it's already in your tuition. It's way
Mhm.
cheaper than actually going to see an outside counselor because
Mhm.
normally if you get financial aid scholarships, that's gonna pay for it.
Mhm.
So why not use it? Because if you don't use it, that's just money down the drain.
Down the
Like,
drain. Yeah. And let me not forget that we do COVID testing on Tuesdays. And so, in Killeen, it's kind of difficult to identify a COVID test site. And so you can sign up for those appointments. They are appointment only. We're not taking walk-ins, but we do appointments on Tuesday mornings. And so jump on the website. If you go to tamuct.edu and you just search SWACC, SWACC, for Student Wellness and Counseling Center, you can follow the prompts to sign up for testing.
speaking of your email, you guys also just made an Instagram account, right?
We did. We're so excited. We're so excited. We do have an Instagram account. It is SWACC, so Student Wellness and Counseling Center TAMUCT, and we also have a Facebook, and we're branching off into other social medias. And so if you follow the Blue Coats, right, we're good social media buddies, them and us. And so jump on over. We're going to be posting so many more things. Now, what's different about SWACC on social media is that, again, confidentiality is a priority. And so we won't be as engaging as some of the other social medias in terms of, interacting with our viewers, but we are really, really, really looking forward to getting information out there, some stuff that you guys can look forward to. We're going to be having some mindfulness exercises posted. We're going to be talking about different ways to manage anxiety, test anxiety, those type of things. So we just want to be a help. And if there's anything that you guys are interested in or want to know about, please reach out to us, reach out to the Blue Coats. They know how to get a hold of us. And we'll be happy to service you all in that way.
Yeah, I follow you guys on my own personal Instagram account too, and I just love seeing because it's so aesthetically pleasing, and it's really nice, like little pieces of advice or reminders, and I just love to see that kind of stuff on my feed. We do something kind of similar. We have something called Wellness Wednesdays on our social media accounts where we kind of repost photos that we found regarding like whether it's fitness or mental health wellness, regular wellness, like all of that. So it's really nice to have you guys now on Instagram too.
Yeah.
So we can kind of coincide and really put those things together, because we one thing that I do love about this university is that we want students to succeed in all aspects, not just academically, but whether it be like food insecurities, your mental health, your physical health, all of that really matters to us here. And whatever resources they need, we have. And if if our office doesn't have it, we will find an office that does.
Exactly. And I think that's what I love about our campus is that we are so into working cross-functionally to service our students. And in this particular department and division of student affairs is, all of these offices work together to help you as a student. And so if there's a resource that you need, we encourage you collectively just to reach out. And if we're not the person to help you, we can get you to the person who is there to help you, because we truly care about our students and we care about you all's struggles and what you're going through. And so we want to help in any way that we can. And so please reach out to us. We've got resources via phone and Instagram, and drop by and see us. And I think I speak on behalf of our division and the Blue Coats included that, we really want our warriors to have a positive experience while they're in school and while they're pursuing their degrees and their life plans. And so whatever we can do to help with that, we are always here for it.
Yeah. So going on to our final question, and I ask everybody this on my podcast, and this can be about what we talked about today or just kind of in general. What advice do you want to give students?
Ooh, well, that's a tough one. I don't really give advice as a counselor, but I can share my experience. And my experience is that when you are surrounded by the type of people that that elicit positivity in your life, it can be so helpful. And I think me having to pay attention to who are my people and how are they engaging with me and how am I engaging with them, it can be very helpful to just establishing a healthy environment around myself. And so I think for me, one of the lessons that I live by is making sure that I'm always surveying my village, and not just how I'm affected by my village, but how I affect my village. And so I think as warriors, we are in the middle of Fort Hood and Killeen, and there's so much stuff around us. But I think if we stop and pay attention to the people that directly affect our lives and how we affect their lives, and we make sure that we're infusing positivity into all of it, I think it'll help us to just be a stronger community.
For sure. Well, thank you so much. I absolutely love talking to you, whether it's on the podcast now or face to face or even through counseling. So thank you so much for being my guest this week. I absolutely love having this conversation with you. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Listen, I will come back anytime. So I will see you on campus or wherever I see you. And I look forward to seeing all of our Warrior students in some way, shape, or fashion. So thank you for having this. I think it's amazing.
Of course. And for those listening, I will see you guys the next Monday after this is posted. So yeah, everybody have a great day.
Bye.